So I would define mysticism or the mystic experience as the relationship between the divine and the self, the direct, unmediated relationship, which is very much what Quakers believe. Hello, I'm Jennifer Kavanagh. I live in London and my Quaker meeting is Westminster, and at the time of recording, I'm the resident friend at Pendle Hill. And today we're going to be talking about my book, Practical Mystics. So it's a very odd phrase, and most people think that mystics are some very special breed, usually in a monastery or somewhere, but actually that isn't the case. And the phrase practical mystics was first used, I think, by the Anglican Evelyn Underhill, but then it was applied to Quakers by Rufus Jones, the American Quaker, and has been applied to Quakers quite a lot since then. So the book looks at, sort of explores what is a mystic, and what do we mean by practical, and the elite idea that mystics are only, being a mystic you have to be a very special kind of person, is discounted by Jones and others. That actually, that we all have the opportunity to be mystics. So I would define mysticism or the mystic experience as the relationship between the divine and the self, the direct, unmediated relationship, which is very much what Quakers believe is possible for anybody. Not that we do it all the time, not that we're not always in that place, but that it is possible for anybody. And what do we mean by practical? Well, not just talking about special service, talking about everything that we do, all our actions, speak to the world, have some influence on the world. So it's very much about the balance between contemplation and action, which many people find very difficult in their lives to find that balance. It's the balance exemplified by Mary and Martha in the Bible. So Mary sits at Jesus' feet listening, and Martha's very busy. But actually, there's no difference between them, because prayer, contemplation, worship is an action. And in terms of practicality, everything that we do stems from our faith. So I'll read you a little bit from the beginning. I shall focus here on people who are living in the world, what I hope to describe as a group who combine mysticism with often radical action, to look not just at how the contemplative and active lives can coexist, but how in essence they are the same. Practical people, all of whom can be mystics, mystics who can also be practical, and more than that, how the action stems from that very faith, how the two are intertwined, and how crucial that interaction is. Basically, when I came to Quakers, it was in midlife, and I didn't really know what I was finding. All I knew was that I had a kind of spiritual need to find a home for my questing. And I tried various churches and they didn't work for me. And I remembered seeing a sign outside the Quaker Meeting House in London, central London. And I thought I'll give it a try. And I went in and found peace. And I wasn't looking for a community, but I found one. I found a nurturing community, but more than that, I found an enabling community. Not surprisingly, as soon as I arrived, people started to ask me to do things. And that completely changed my life. What I was asked to do was to work with homeless people, and I'd had no experience of it before, and I realized that that person in the doorway could be me, and yes, it transformed my understanding of things. So what happened for me was not only finding a home for my spiritual questing, but also reclaiming my youthful idealism, because I'd been brought up to think all that poverty and injustice is just too big, we can't make a difference. But here I was meeting people who were making a difference in small local ways, maybe, but it enabled me to feel that I could make a difference too. So in a sense, the faith and the action came together, and that's why I've always been so fascinated by the relationship between faith and action. When I came across the phrase practical mystics, that seemed to say it. So yes, Rufus Jones, whom I mentioned earlier, says by far the larger number of mystics probably live and die without explicitly knowing that they are mystics. They practice the presence of God instead of arriving at a clear statement of knowledge about it. This may well be called practical mysticism, mysticism of life and action. Then he says, in a lovely phrase, that they walk about their ordinary tasks of life without knowing that their faces shine. And my question to you would be, is that you? And what practical things does it lead you to do? So thank you for listening. I'm doing various workshops when I go back to the UK, and I've written a number of books apart from Practical Mystics. And if you want to find out anything about them, just go to my website, which is jenniferkavanagh.co.uk, and there's a list of my books, and they're all available online or from, as they say, good bookshops.